4% rates in this market, if you know how to pull off these strategies, is what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get into all that, please like, comment, subscribe, share. All those fun things really help grow the channel and keep this small business going, supporting small business and the local Wichita community that goes with it, which is what this channel is about, to give you an idea of Wichita, real estate, and what's like moving here, living here, and all these different things that we have going on. So 4% rates is what we're going to talk about today and how we could potentially pull this off. Also the cost breakdowns of it, and then a third bonus special one that is a lot harder to pull off, but it can be pulled off. But if you stick around and see it, I think you see how wild and impactful this can be for your financial situation, which goes hand in hand with the house. Even though I'm not necessarily a money guy, finance guy, like you kind of want your agent to be about the money and to know about the money, since so much of real estate deals with money and your wealth and all of the finances that go with it. Because it's not just opening pretty doors and looking pretty and being cool and all that stuff. It's actually knowing long-term strategies, plans, all those things. I'm a homeowner myself, and I build wealth through home ownership. And I want to really help you to also do the same with your own primary residence. There's investing that's a whole nother angle of this, which I'm for, but I'm not trying to be an investor coach. I'm trying to be a homeowner coach, is really where it's at. I'm not trying, I am. But that's essentially the way I approach this, from being 12 years of construction, 10 years flipping houses, and 8 years as an agent. I kind of just apply all the strategies, methods, things I've learned for you in your primary house, and some of your investing stuff, but primarily your own house. So the first one strategy that we want to go over is, how the hell am I going to get a 4% rate in this market? Well, one, we just recently came to quote a homeowner on a conventional loan for 150,000 at 6%, 5.99%, but 6%, basically same thing. Which, one, already 6% isn't too bad. That's pretty bearable. That's good to know. That's where rates are at the time of this recording, which is August 2nd, 2024, 2:51 on a Friday. You really want to know. Obviously, you got to check your lender and their rates, their fees, the time of the situation. But we just recently quoted one at 6% for that. So that's one baseline we have to look at, is that if we're able to get a 6% rate on a conventional loan, now obviously with that, you got to have good credit, you got to have good debt to income ratio. Like, there's a lot of things that got to line up for this. But if you can pull off the seller paying for a 2-1 rate buy down, or potentially you pay for it out of the proceeds of the sale of your home on a contingent offer, that's kind of the same strategy I'm going to throw in there in one. It really could be two different strategies with that. A lot of builders I see offering incentives like rate buy downs in order to move forward on buying the house that they're building. So if you're at 6% and then you get a 2-1 rate buy down, you'd be at 4% for the first year, is how this works. The second year you'd be at 5%, and then the third year you'd be at your 6%, is how that works. So 2-1 buy down is the name of it. And if you can get the seller to pay for it, like a lot of builders are doing this, or a listing that's been on the market longer, and you're like, I like the house, but that payment's too high, I don't like the rates, where the rates are at. This is a financial maneuver that we can do in order to make it more appeasing, more feasible for you to get you a 4% rate in this market for a temporary time period. I want to make sure that's fully disclosed and understood. It's not forever. It's for the first year. It's 2% less. For the second year, it's 1% less. And then the third year, it goes to the rate, where the rate's at. It's not an arm. It's not that type of a situation. It's a 2-1 rate buy down. And the way that happens is basically there's an upfront fee for it. And whether the seller pays for that in your negotiations, which is where a good negotiating agent like myself can bring it in, that's one way to get it paid, is the seller can pay it for the buyer to come in. That's an incentive the seller can offer for you to buy the house for either the price they want or to make the monthly payment work for a lot of people. Because most people these day and age are like, what's the monthly payment? If I can make the payment, I can afford it, I can buy it. And a lot of ways too, like, that's good to look at things that way from a monthly debt to income planning ratio. A lot of times the lender will allow 45 to 55% debt to income ratio. Although in my opinion, that's too high, that's too risky. 25 to 35 is more of a safer place to be at for your total debt to income ratio. Now, when I say total debt to income ratio, that's including the new house payment you're going to take on with principal, insurance, taxes, and interest. but then also it's car payments, student loan debt, medical debt, any other type of grievances, child support, things that you have on your record that's going to go towards that debt to income ratio. Because as much as I like houses and they're cool and all this stuff goes with it, like I want to help you long-term plan for what makes sense the most for you as a long-term client, not just a wham bam, thank you, like see you later, got a commission check, bye, put you in a precarious situation. Because my strategy is that I want to approach this just like I do myself, to be like a live-in 3 to 5 year flip for you that gains equity that you can either upgrade, move up to the next one, or have options, for what you want to do with your house. But it takes smart strategic financial planning, real estate planning ahead of time. And you make your money when you buy these things, not when you sell them. And so that's why the purchase side of things is so important, to plan for a 3 to 5 year or 10 year window. Even with the rates where they're at 6%, it still makes sense. It's still a good idea. And if you can afford the monthly payment, especially if you get it to 4% and then 5, and then by year 3, you're selling anyway, like that's a potential good plan to have for what you want to do. Not saying you have to, but you're in that spot. And the other side of that is the contingent offer piece. So let's say you're wanting to buy a 250 and you need to sell a 150, but you are at a 3% rate on a 150, and you're like, I don't want to give up my 3% rate because I got to go get a 6% rate on this thing, and it's 250 and I have to go pay 250, but I have equity in this house. Why don't I try to either negotiate in the rate buy down, or you can pay it yourself too, out of the proceeds of the sale of your house, instead of putting all of that equity and cash from the sale of your home into the next house, use a piece of it to do a 2-1 rate buy down. So now you're moving from a 3% to a 4% interest rate, really not that bad. And you're moving from a 150 house to a 250 house, and you are not taking that much of a difference of a hit, and you're taking all the equity over there. And obviously with your personal unique situation, we can run your exact scenarios and numbers of how much equity you have in your house you're going to carry to the next one, and then also what's the next one look like to pay for, or if we can negotiate in this rate buy down with the contingent offer situation. This is the value of a good agent that knows how to negotiate, but also package these deals, package these offers for you to the seller. Like, this is the work of what a good agent does. And it's the value of the result, is being able to put all this together and know how this works, that not every agent knows how to do or can pull off effectively with the clients, with the agent and the other seller, and all the other moving parts that go into this. It's way more than being a pretty face that opens doors when you play this level of game, to where the value you bring is way higher than the commission you earn. And honestly, you guys earn way more money over equity and gain and all that than a good agent does over time. So that's the one strategy. The first strategy, as far as seller pay or contingent offer pay, and I kind of broke down some examples for you. The other thing to do is kind of a cost breakdown. So like on a $300,000 house at 3.5% down, that's $10,500 down, 6% interest rate, assuming $2,500 insurance and $3,000 taxes, is about $2,300 a month in a payment. But then when you change that to 4%, you're at $1,900 a payment. So it changes it by about $300 a month, which can be the make or break difference of, we either buy this house or we don't, we do it or we don't. And the third one, I'll just kind of go into, this is the extra bonus that I was going to throw in there. If you can really pull this off, this is a lot harder, but it is possible because it costs a lot more. And usually the sellers and everyone else is a little more iffy on it, is doing a 3-2-1 buy down. So a 3-2-1 buy down, same concept, just add another year and add another percent. So if you're at 6%, you can get down to 3% for the first year, then 4% for the second year, then 5% for the third year. And then that fourth year is really when it goes to the 6%. So that's wild to me that we can get a 3% rate again for 3 years. Like, if you negotiate it in, you make it work. And if you're planning to live in this thing and flip it and sell it in 3 to 5 years anyway, and you can get a 3% rate, and you're moving from a 3% rate at 150 to another 250 at 3%, living in that for 3 years, letting it appreciate to, let's say, 300,000, if it will, until you get to that 6% rate, you are really sitting on a sweet freaking deal. And that's what makes these things able to be pulled off, is when you know these financial strategies that go in tandem with the real estate strategies. I'm not a lender, I'm not a loan officer. I've thought about it at one point, but ultimately, at the end of the day, like, I want to do things real estate wise, but usually what's holding me back is the money, is the finances. So if I can help you with the money problem, we can then help you with the real estate problem, is what it comes down to. to give you some examples. Obviously, I got to get down to your exact specific house, the equity, the rate you're at, the next house that we're looking at buying, all of that. And this is where the strategic planning and negotiating and skill comes in for a good agent compared to somebody who just got their license because they thought it was fun. And it's not fun. It's work. I mean, I do enjoy it, but it is work. It's difficult. It's tough. It takes a lot of people work and math work with it all. But that gives you an idea of the 3-2-1 buy down and then the cost breakdowns that went with it. Let's do a $250,000. Let's keep on the $300,000 example and go to 3%. Because if we go to 3% on that same scenario, now we're talking 1,700 a month on 3%. So you can still get a 3% loan. And the biggest thing I want you to look at is like, yes, we navigate finances, money, the market, all these things, but ultimately at the end of the day, like just buying and selling a house match your life reason. It doesn't make sense for you to buy and sell a house because you got married, you got kids, you don't got kids, you're not married, somebody died, somebody passed away, job relocation, in and out, that kind of thing. I'll help you navigate not just the real estate market and the finances, but also your life situation and the personal side of things of why we're even doing this in the first place. And then here's all the skills that go with navigating those things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I want to know about your personal situation, not because I want to pry and be nosy in your life, but because I want to know how to best help you through this whole situation, with finances, with real estate, with money, but also the life situation. But I'm not your therapist. I'm not your coach. I'm not going to go that far, but I understand how that relates to the transactions and what we're doing in the business world. But anyway, I hope that really helps you with breaking down how we could potentially get a 4% rate in this market. If you follow the guide below, there's a link for simple home improvements with big payoffs. That's kind of my gift to you and kind of honestly getting in the funnel and all the different things I provide for you. And appreciate watching as always. Hopefully this helped you learn a little bit more how real estate works, and I look forward to speaking with you one day. See ya.